Well, hi everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Welcome back to a second live stream on YouTube. It's been a long time since I did two live streams in one day. This is a solo shot. Joe Rayo and I will probably be on tomorrow early in the day at some point. So just keep an eye on notifications. And if you're on Patreon, you'll get a notification about the time. I haven't really set it yet, but it's going to be a busy day tomorrow, so we'll be on top of it. And meanwhile, it's a busy night tonight, so I just want to get going here with regards to what's happening weather-wise, because it is a kind of a crazy night, severe weather-wise. I'm going to start with lightningmaps.org, which is recording lightning strikes in just about real time. They're delayed by a few seconds, but you can see where the area of activity is. The reds and blues are the more recent lightning strikes. They get it from two different sources. You can see when the lightning strikes occur, that little blip appears, that little circular blip, and in the last minute, have been 193 lightning strikes. And you'll notice that there's two separate lines here. You've got this area here, which is producing the wicked severe weather and tornadoes. This area that's back through Arkansas and points northward, those are severe thunderstorms. I haven't seen any tornado warnings from that batch at the moment, but it just shows you how the energy in the atmosphere is spaced out a little bit with this large area of thunderstorms that runs from just north of New Orleans on northeastward to Chattanooga and Knoxville in Tennessee. And the other website that I just want to think you should put down in your list is tornadohq.com. This is showing live radar and current severe thunderstorm warnings, which are the yellow boxes that you see. And we've got some strong storms, severe thunderstorms approaching Little Rock back on southward and southwestward to near Shreveport. And then you've got the main area that's producing one, two, three, four, five. We've got six working severe thunderstorm warnings, and we do have one working tornado warning at the moment. And this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Carbon Hill, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. And what you can do is if you just scroll this down, you'll see the list of all the warnings and the states that are involved. So that particular tornado in Carbon Hill is in the state of Alabama, and it does also give you the counties, Walker County and Winston County, and very very useful indeed. You get it all on one page, and it does update for you. So lightningmaps.org, and you have Tornado HQ, both very handy tools that you can use. So I'm going to jump over to the satellite. Please, at this point, I just want to remind those of you that are watching, if you are watching it on a replay later on tonight, be advised that we're at 9:33 Eastern time right now. So you're seeing stuff that's happening at that particular moment. You want to make sure you have the latest weather information. Please go to weather.gov to your local National Weather Service forecast office so you can take a look and see what the latest watches and warnings that are going on. And on the satellite loop, you just have really just an incredibly impressive flow here of very moist tropical air surging out of the Gulf of Mexico and into the southeastern part of the United States. And of course, you also have the short wave that is swinging eastward, producing the severe weather in Arkansas down into northern Louisiana. And of course, on the northern fringe, now running up into Wisconsin, to the western lakes. We're seeing snow out of this, and heavy snow is occurring in some areas there. We'll take a look at that also in just a moment. The radar, as of, I'm going to just freshen this up so we can get something updated here. And this area of rain is moving very quickly to the northeast. Now getting into Maryland, over the Delmarva Peninsula, and this should start to move into New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England, eastern Pennsylvania in the next several hours. At least the leading edge will. But as far as the severe weather on the radar is concerned, you can see these broken lines of red and dark brown and yellow with the severe weather that is moving through northern Alabama. Looks like a pretty solid line coming into Alabama out of Mississippi. Mississippi getting hit very hard today with respect to the thunderstorms that have been happening. I'm just going to zero in on this is Columbus Air Force Base, Mississippi radar. Oh, flash player is blocked. I'm not going to have time to fix that. But here you go. So here's your second line back, moving across Arkansas and into southern Missouri, down into northwest Louisiana, and then of course you've got the area that's through Mississippi, southeastern Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, northwestern Georgia, and into eastern Tennessee. So this is going to be a pretty active, busy night for sure. The Storm Prediction Center has, they've obviously been incredibly busy. The storm count so far is 20 today. This graphic, I think, is today's. I don't see the date and time here is 12 to today's date. So it's today, ending at 8 o'clock. So we don't have Eastern time, 7 o'clock Central time. So we don't have whatever's happened in the last hour and a half. But as of 8 o'clock, there have been 27 reported tornadoes, 84 reports of winds of severe thunderstorm threshold, 60 miles an hour, 50 knots, 60 miles an hour or higher, and 27 reports of hail. So it's been very busy, and those numbers are obviously going to go up. We have a number of working tornado watches going on. Some of them are kind of over. You see how when the loop goes, that part of one tornado watch disappears, and then another one is added on. A small tornado watch was just added for what looks like parts of southeastern Tennessee and into a small portion of northwest South Carolina. And of course, you've got another tornado watch that extends up into northwest Georgia and much of the state of Alabama, in a tornado watch down into southeast Louisiana. The back edge is kind of getting clipped off a little bit. Going to take a look at where we're going. Haven't seen too much updates with regards to the forecast. The current forecast has shifted the moderate area, kind of shrunk it a little bit because of the fact that it's already been through the western edge, the western area of this. So we still have a moderate risk of severe weather continuing tonight in virtually the whole state of Alabama into the western half of Georgia. The enhanced risk pushes up through North Carolina and into eastern Tennessee. Again, this is going to cover the period right until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Eastern Time. Slight risk over a fairly large area, the lower Ohio Valley, the lower Mississippi Valley, still under a slight risk of severe weather. And when we start to see the slight risk nosing up into Virginia, there's been no change in the forecast from the Storm Prediction Center with regards to Monday. Slight risk, southern New Jersey, the westernmost counties of New Jersey, and then kind of turning back westward along the Pennsylvania New York state line. You see that enhanced risk is up into much of the state of Virginia. I don't, the history of this has been for the severe weather areas to be expanded northward. The Storm Prediction Center did a fairly large northward expansion of this today for Monday. I'm not 100% sure whether this is going to change too much during tomorrow. Of course, this is up to them to see what kind of, what happens overnight when the new models come in, and they can take a look at this and see where this is all going to be headed. And in terms of the categorical, we've got a 5% risk of tornadoes, okay, in that slight risk area, 5%, and a 10% risk in that enhanced area. That's for this time of year to see a 5% risk of tornadoes in Pennsylvania and into southern New Jersey and Maryland and Delaware. It's pretty high. It's kind of early for this area to get a severe weather risk like this. But remember, we've got a major storm that's developing here with an incredible amount of energy being generated aloft by the shortwave troughs that are moving through. So it makes sense that you're going to have a risk area that is as robust as what SPC is indicating. The warm sector is right across. You can see where on the 21Z, the 5 p.m. surface map, we've got low pressure, the lowest pressure being analyzed in southeastern Oklahoma, another low in northeastern Arkansas. This is eventually just going to consolidate into one low. There's another low that up in eastern Iowa. So all of this is just going to continue to organize. And you've got very cold air for this time of year with a high coming down in Montana. So you have very cold air that has moved down into Kansas. Temperatures in the 30s, 20s in Colorado with snow in Denver. I don't know if Ruthless Goat is on the live stream tonight. He's up in Loveland in Colorado, and he put up some a video earlier this evening on Facebook of some of the snow that he's enjoying there as his winter weather is continuing with a temperature of 22. And of course, we're starting to set up here for what's happening. You've got this strong, the beginnings of the strong southerly flow that is going to strengthen even further as we go through the day tomorrow. So I'm going to just real quick, just want to bring up the wind forecast, and you can get this, by the way, on the digital weather .gov map. And I'm just going to put up the wind gusts. I'm starting close up on Long Island, and I'm going to go to the time of about, let's see, that's at 11 a.m. So we'll just let the map load a little bit here. And I have to tell you, I haven't seen many times where we've had, in fact, that is the first time I think that I've seen it in a long, long time to see the 50 knot plus wind covering all of New Jersey. These are 50 knot or higher gusts. So you're talking about wind gusts of 60 miles an hour or more as far west as west of Trenton, west of Philadelphia and Wilmington, down into Delaware, and of course, all along the New Jersey shore. And as we go through the day tomorrow for areas around New York and for southern New England, here's a slightly wider view. Again, this is at 11 a.m. The peak winds for this area that I'm showing, Maryland to southern New England, to southwestern New England at least, will occur. Uh, we'll give it a range of say from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow. The strongest winds probably between 11 a.m. and say 4 p.m. right in there. And just going to jump over a couple of hours at 1 p.m. You can see all of Long Island, southern New England, 50 knots or higher with gusts. You're still getting those vicious gusts down in New Jersey. And moving on to 3 o'clock, it starts to, you drops down into the upper 40s, which is still pretty formidable. And gusts, still getting gusts over 50 miles an hour, and gusts of 60 or higher, coastal New Jersey on up through Long Island, Connecticut, penetrating fairly inland into Connecticut, and over southeastern New England, you're starting to get your gusts that are going to be running up into the 45 and 50 knot range, and up to 7 o'clock. By 7 o'clock in the evening, you notice how quickly the gusts really ease down in New Jersey and Delaware down into the 20s. Still pretty windy back over into Pennsylvania and in upstate New York, and still very windy in southeastern New England. It's just what impresses me about this is the fact that this is very much a long duration event that we're talking about here with respect to the winds. To have winds gusts of 40 miles an hour or higher running for a good 8 or 9 hours, and then couple that with about 5 or 6 hours of winds gusting of 50 to 60 miles an hour or more, doesn't happen too often. So indeed, we're seeing a major storm and its impact. Here's the GFS from late this afternoon, and this is how it sees the radar presentation this evening. It's not too far off, and of course now as we go through the overnight, the strong line of heavy storms, eastern Kentucky, into southern West Virginia, southward into northwestern Georgia, and just about getting ready to move out of Alabama. This is at 2 a.m. The rain has moved up into New Jersey, Pennsylvania, southern New York, and into southern New England. By tomorrow morning, it's going to be raining very hard. And at this point, this is about where the warm front is starting to come through. Your low is right up there in northern Michigan. You've got the trailing cold front, of course. Your warm front is probably just like this. And once that warm front gets forced northward, this is where you're going to start to see these really strong winds kick in with that very, very tight pressure gradient. And of course, what comes into the equation tomorrow during the day will be whether there'll be some severe thunderstorms around. The GFS kind of takes away the uh, the solid lines that you're seeing moving across the Gulf states and into the southeastern part of the United States after tomorrow morning. But I think there are going to be some scattered cells. I'm always a little bit suspicious when it comes to severe weather in our neck of the woods in a situation like this, because sometimes the models don't have a good feel for exactly where everything is going to be. So the best way to approach it is if you're in a risk area, it's worth paying attention to. And of course, your front is now getting close to the coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then by 8 o'clock, it's already gone. It's offshore and moving out to the east. And then the gradient starts to lessen just a bit as we go into tomorrow evening. And it really drops off during the overnight and going into Tuesday. Tuesday's going to be a better day. And I haven't really spent much time to look at this next weather system that's coming out for Wednesday. The frontal boundary is going to stall out to an extent, and there's another short wave that's going to be dropping down from that northern jet stream. So this is where you've got the model generating this little area of blue and some snow, believe it or not, by Wednesday morning in this narrow band that rolls on through. It doesn't amount to very much, but for somebody, it might be like it was on Friday, where some folks got to see some snowflakes and some grapple. You might wind up seeing some wet snow in the mix here Wednesday morning as this wave goes by, and then after that, at least it looks like the weather conditions are going to calm down for the rest of the week. In the longer range, looks like another weather system coming Friday night into Saturday. But again, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time with regards to the long range outlook with this major storm. Usually when we've got big storms like this, I just kind of focus on what's happening currently, and we'll leave the long range to whenever we get there after we get through what we have right now. I just want to really quick, we'll go back to Tornado HQ just to take a look, and you'll notice that it's just gotten another tornado warning. This is at 9:47 Eastern Time. Again, a reminder, weather.gov, if you're watching this on a replay, to make sure you've got the latest weather information with the latest radars, watches, and warnings that are up. So we have a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings that are still working. 2 tornado warnings in play at this point. Let's see. We have one in Alabama, another one in Alabama in Cullman and Morgan counties. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Smith Dam or 10 miles northeast of Jasper, moving northeast at 65 miles an hour. My God, that's like a rocket ship. And we still have that other one. Here's another tornado warning near Jefferson and Tuscaloosa counties in Alabama, near Deer Lick Creek campgrounds, or near Holt, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. And then we still have okay, they might be updating. That may be the same one, and they just kind of updated that as time goes by. And then of course a slew of severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, that's Tornado HQ .com to follow along all the severe weather that we're seeing. So I'm just going to keep this live stream tonight. This particular one, I'm keeping it short. It's been a busy day. See a number of you are on tonight. Jason Kaplan, do I think there's more of a chance of storm underperforming or overperforming in terms of the winds? I don't know, Jason. And I kind of look at everything that's going on with this. Uh, it's it's hard to see how it's going to underperform. I think we're going to get certainly 50 to 60. Now, whether we wind up with winds that gusts that pop up higher than that, that's the sort of thing that how high is up? I don't know. So 50 to 60 is formidable, and if we do wind up getting that for several hours or more, there's going to be some trees uprooted and some, I hate to hesitate to use the word damage, but there are more vulnerable structures, weaker structures are likely to see some impact from these stronger winds. Models have been very consistent. Philip Neary, you are correct. The I'll just take a look. Let's just bring up the HRRR, because the HRRR is usually a pretty good short range tool. Doesn't always work. Sometimes some days are better than others, and they just finished the 0Z run. So I'll put it up on the screen in a moment so we can take a look at how it sees everything. The severe weather part of the equation is a little bit dicey because of the fact that we got to see how that warm front, how far north that warm front gets. But just looking at the latest HRRR, which goes out 32 hours, look at that line that it has by 11 o'clock tonight. So the HRRR is taking what's on the radar right now and really consolidates into a very strong line, reaching its peak in the next couple of hours. Then you get the top of that line weakens a little bit. The bottom part of the line strengthens a bit. The line moves eastward. Of course, we're getting our rain coming in at this point during the overnight hours. And now we see for tomorrow, this is at 9 a.m., you see some scattered thunderstorms, clusters of thunderstorms running from New Jersey southward. And then you get another batch. Look at this. This is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You get a fairly solid line. This is with the cold front. I think that's what you have to watch for tomorrow with regard to severe weather, is when that cold front approaches. Very, very sharp. If you look at how the isobars are structured here, let's see if I can bring it a little closer. We'll get the close-up view. Okay, we'll go to that shot here. It's a little, it's a little probably a little difficult to see, so you're gonna have to trust me on this. Very, very sharp V here. Oh, come on, let's get this. My graphics are acting up on me. But here's your cold front. The isobars are very sharp. It's shaped like a V. Okay, that is that's a signature of a strong cold front. And there's your broken line of thunderstorms, and probably the way the HRRR is looking at this, that some of those are going to be severe as they move on through. And of course, after that, weather conditions are going to improve. The other thing I want you to take a look at here is we took a look earlier. This is the wind at 5,000 feet at 850 millibars, and you'll notice how that wind field really expands and blows up. I mean, you've got I pointed this out on the earlier live stream, but if you take a look at the winds just along the New Jersey coast and south of Long Island and over Long Island, you're talking about 80 to 100 knots 80 to 100 knots on the wind at 5,000 feet. So you got to think that that wind is going to mix down to the lower levels of the atmosphere. Not the 100 knots, but could it be 55? Could it be half that? Could it be 50 knots, 55 or 60 knots? Sure. Absolutely. See no reason why it shouldn't be. And those strong winds, by the way, go all the way up into New England. Now, again, how much of that's going to mix down? That's the key. And sometimes what happens is when you're north of the warm front, the winds don't mix down to the bottom part of the atmosphere as efficiently as they do when you're south of the warm front. And in this case, if you look at that 850 level, and from what we see, especially as that cold front approaches, that warm front is going to be forced northward, north of Long Island, and heading on up into New England. So bottom line is that it's going to be a rough day tomorrow, no question. If it winds up being less than advertised, I would look at that as a big positive, okay? Because I'm not a big fan of having storms like this actually play out, uh, as advertised. It might be nice if it were to come a little bit less than advertised. Let me just shrink this screen down and get it out of the way, and let's move that over. I'll put that on the bottom. Stephen Franco, thanks for hitting super chat tonight. Really appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much. Leon, inundation of 2.5 feet above normal for the South Shore. You know what? That's another thing with that strong southerly flow, the way it is with those strong south winds coming in, catching at least one high tide cycle. South Shore flood. There will be some South Shore coastal flooding out of this. Now, the good news with that is that we have. The full moon was last week. If we were coming out of the full moon, say a day or so to go, I would be really concerned about some serious coastal flooding. But I think we're far enough away from the peak high tides from the full moon that at least provides a plus. But nonetheless, with the strong southerly flow, I got to think that there's going to be some coastal flooding with this. Ruthless Goat putting up his observations with regards to the winter weather that's going on in Colorado. I did say that I did mention that I at least show the snow with this, and I didn't get to it. So let's do that right now. Um, I'll bring up the digital snow forecast for those of you who might be watching from the upper Midwest. And again, some of this, we've already had some snowfall, so this would be in addition to whatever's on the ground. And you'll notice that, northern Wisconsin, the upper peninsula of Michigan, getting clobbered with maybe up to 2 feet of snow, with lesser amounts as you go south and west. This obviously misses the big cities of Milwaukee, Chicago, and so on. So we're talking about areas that are fairly far to the north in the Western Lakes, but nonetheless, an impressive system for this time of year. Peter Bicker, yeah, the 12Z NAM run was very dynamic. The 18Z run was also rather dynamic. So I think everything is is running on course. With regards to what the models have telegraphed with this, it's just an absolutely it's a very very dynamic setup. It's something that you don't see very often. And we mentioned back, if you remember back last, when we're looking at the teleconnections back last week, kind of pointing to this weekend as maybe something major with the huge pressure changes that were being forecast by some of the ensemble models in those teleconnections. And you see how when they move rapidly up from one extreme back up to the neutral line or crash down from a high reading and go back down to at the point that they hit the neutral zone, that's usually where you wind up seeing something big somewhere. And in this particular case, of course, the storm is playing out the way it is with the low heading up toward the Great Lakes. So we're going to wrap it up here at this point. Thanks again for being here on this second live stream tonight. Of course, with everything else going on, remember your social distancing with coronavirus. Please be sure that you're doing that. And now we'll wait and see how this severe weather plays out tomorrow. As I said, Joe Rayo and I will probably do something tomorrow morning at some point, especially since, if we do something, say at around 10 or 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, the winds should be howling out my window and out his window. So it'll be prime time. And since most of you are home, you'll be able to watch it. Although I know if you're at work, you would probably be watching it too. So um, that's it. Let's leave it at that. We'll see what happens tomorrow, and have a great evening. Take care and good night.